Hello and welcome. The Indian team has touched down. If you see social media, Rohit Sharma and Rishabh Pant, we have reached Southampton. Jasprit Bumrah posting a photograph from Southampton, bright and sunny Southampton. Riddhiman Shaha posting a photograph from Southampton. KL Rahul had posted a photograph on touchdown at Heathrow. So the Indian team well and truly ready and on the cusp of history in Southampton, ready to get to battle ahead of what is perhaps, as Ravi Shastri says, one of the most important test matches in the history of Indian cricket, perhaps even the world, because ultimately it's the final of the World Test Championship and the first ever final. Yes, plenty of talk about a best of three final. Very fair point, maybe a best of three final, but it is not a best of three final. The truth is, it is a one-off match, and whichever team wins that one-off match happens to be the World Test Championship winner. As we speak, Devon Conway, 165 not out, 292 for 5. BJ Watling just out. Mark Wood picking up his second wicket. The match is interestingly poised at Lord's between New Zealand and England. Can't wait for the WTC to start. And today on our show, Brendon McCullum will help me decode everything that you possibly want to know or have in mind about the WTC Final. Every major question that we have about the WTC Final will be decoded by Brendon McCullum on today's show. The first one has to be battle between Kane Williamson and Virat Kohli. Two legends of our game, very different captaincy styles, contrasting personalities, but incredibly good cricketers. Brendon has played with one, has seen one from very close quarters, while commentating on international cricket, been around, played against him, and obviously now while in the IPL, he coaches the Kolkata Knight Riders, has seen Virat Kohli from very close quarters. So Brendon McCullum, the first one that I will take is on Captain Kane and Captain Kohli. What does Brendon McCullum think on these two captains? Trisha, may I please have the first clip?
Two tremendous leaders, two giants of the international game at this point in time. Two very inspirational men who lead in different ways. One's probably more outwardly aggressive, while the other one is equally as dominant, but not quite in the same, expressive way. But I think both of them have led their sides brilliantly with their own performances, but also their ability to just really get the best out of those around them and to have been able to achieve some pretty special things for both of their countries throughout the last 5 years or so, which is obviously what they've both now been in charge of their national teams for some 4 or 5 years. Look, they're both two tremendous ambassadors of the game and two must-watch players when you get the opportunity. Ironically, it's in the one that's probably the hardest to actually qualify for, because the results are needed over a long period of time, and you have to force the games and force the situation in Test cricket to be able to garner success and garner those results. And you need a lot of things to go your way also. And both captains have pushed their teams to the success levels which they've been able to get to, and they both rightfully deserve their opportunity in this World Test Championship final. And one of them, well, maybe both of them, because the rules are obviously that it could be shared. So maybe one, at least one, maybe two could be standing aloft with the trophy and be deserved victors as captains.
Lovely. Yes, one, maybe two. Who knows, deserving victors as captains. Brendon McCullum, plenty on our show. Lots of questions. Let me take a first quick round. Boria, I'm putting it on record. Okay, Rishabh Chatterjee, thank you very much. Boria, Aniket Mukherjee, view from Hilton. How many times have you been there? Plenty of times, Aniket. The golf course right behind the hotel is equally fascinating. That's where Sachin and I used to sit when we used to do our World Cup shows. Stayed in that hotel many, many times. Interviewed, amazing. I mean, tremendous. So very good hotel, and as we know, you can actually, from the breakfast area, you can get into the galleries also and take a walk around it. So it's a very, very good place to play cricket. Aditya Thapa, good evening. Yes, good evening. Abanindra Mondol, why don't you do shows on Indian football who are playing the World Cup qualifiers, because you will not get good money, isn't it? Absolutely. Amarendra Mondal, you are such a rock star. Believe me, you give me the money, I will do the shows. Aditya Dixit. So why is the Indian team not announced in a virtual press conference so that questions regarding fitness and selection can be answered by the selectors? You know, you don't always, I mean, fair point, but you don't want the broadcast. I mean, certain things, the dressing room stuff remains in the dressing room. If you want to see what the dressing room stuff is all about, I don't think that's a very fair one. Shubham Goyal, what is the mindset of the players since they are not considering it as a final frontier, even though they haven't... You see, these are all talk. Ultimately, you do not want the pressure to build. If you say, yes, we are playing a high-pressure game, Shubham, always, I mean, you think Virat Kohli is not feeling the pressure. You think Ravi Shastri will not feel the pressure. You think a Pujara, Nishant Sharma, Hanuma Vihari will not feel the pressure. Of course they will feel the pressure. This is the World Test Championship final, for God's sake. Aniket, looking at the Lord's pitch, absolute belter. What do you think? Too early, Aniket. We will get to know about the pitch the moment the Indians start practicing and closer to the game, and obviously we will get to know more. We'll speak to the boys. We'll figure out what is it like, etc. So watch sports today. We will build up to the WTC final big time, and we will give you all of it. Mufaddal Vora, partner, you're doing excellent work on social media. I've said that. Keep doing the good work. Good evening, and I look forward to you asking me a question this Sunday, like we've discussed. We heard Virat and Ravi talking about starting the new ball with Lala, Shami and Siraj. So is Siraj going? Very possible. Very possible. I've said that. Siraj has been phenomenal in Australia. Bharat Arun, every time I've spoken to Bharat, and I've spoken to Bharat maybe many times because I'm working on a book. Bharat repeatedly has told me about Siraj. So yes, very possible. Rohit, you're the best. Absolutely, Rohit Sharma is a rock star. Unudeep Chaudhary, hello. McCullum, please give some tips for junior cricketers. We'll play a lot of McCullum. Okay, let me go back to the clips. Plenty more questions, but you need to hear a lot of McCullum because there is a lot of McCullum. What's the next one? On conditions in England. Because, you know, somebody asked me about the Lord's pitch and the conditions. It will influence a lot. It will influence a lot, and Brendon's played a lot of cricket in England. What does he think of the conditions? How can that impact the game? Here's Brendon McCullum. Trisha, can I have the second clip, please?
I think the weather in England at this time of year can be slightly challenging. The good thing is for both sides is that their bowling lineups have been very successful in these types of conditions. I think both lineups are very good at being able to extract the most out of a wicket which has a green tinge to it. The Duke ball as well, I think, is going to suit both bowling lineups. And I'm really excited about just quite how good this test match could unfold, because I think it's sort of the batting lineups of both sides. Whilst there's a lot of class through there, there's also a lot of patience and a lot of respect for the opposition. So I think runs will be hard to come by, but both lineups probably head into this match reasonably confident that we're going to see a pretty good exhibition of their skills, I think.
So it's a collapse, 294 for 7, New Zealand. Devon Conway is still out there, but Kylie Jamieson in a very handy all-rounder. Ollie Robinson and Mark Wood doing the damage morning of day 2. Test match shaping up really nicely. And let us get to the next one. Plenty of questions, including one on quarantine. You know, I actually got, the ICC to send me the details, which Crazy Johns had asked me in the morning. I forwarded it to him also. I've got the mail, rather the WhatsApp. I'll read it out on my show so all of you will know what exactly the quarantine requirements are. But before that, I had asked about Ashwin Jadeja selection, because I personally feel if you have two spinners of that quality, Ravi Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja, when both of them can bat, Ravindra Jadeja, a phenomenal all-rounder, imagine his fielding, run-outs and runs saved and all, and Ravi Ashwin, that Sydney innings, so they will add that extra dimension with the bat. I would play both of them irrespective of conditions. They are quality, and in Southampton you might even get the ball to turn if you go by track record. So what would Brendon McCullum have done? Trisha, the third clip, please.
Very difficult, and this is one of the real benefits of how dominant Indian cricket has been over the last little while is that selections are very, very tough. You've got two world-class players there, two very different players in their own rights as well, and the impact that they have on the game. You've got to probably try and find a way for both of them to fit in, but not if the conditions don't say so. So, look, I think it's a real juggling act. I think, Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli have tended to get their selections right bang on over the last couple of years. So, they don't necessarily operate a similar kind of selection philosophy that, say, a Kane Williamson and Gary Stead will, which is a bit more, shall we call it, zen, where you allow guys the opportunity to continue to play even if they're not necessarily getting the top-level performance because you know that someone else will carry them, and then that will build a nice harmony throughout the environment. That's the New Zealand mentality. The Indian mentality is a bit more, shall we call it, a plug-and-play method where you have so much talent that if someone's not quite at the top of their game, you can bring someone else and put them in the situation and expect that they'll perform. So that's the two very contrasting selection philosophies of both nations, and neither way is right or wrong. They're just different, and they probably suit both populations in their own right. One being 1.4 billion people, and one being 4.5 million people.
So there's Brendon, McCullum on that very critical question. Plenty of questions have again come. Let me answer some. Devon Conway, phenomenal. A lot of you have asked me about Devon Conway, phenomenal. Saurav Ganguly, Devon Conway, same birthday is 8th of July. Fantastic innings yesterday. So calm, composed. And what a white ball season Devon Conway had. I mean, if you see the domestic T20s, thereafter the international T20s, incredible performance, and thereafter going on to do that in the test match. Sachin Chaudhary, good. McCullum, junior cricketers, Kumar, Rishabh, Sachin Chaudhary, good evening. Absolutely good evening. Virat talking about Siraj. Will they drop Ashwin? No, absolutely they will not drop Ashwin. Don't even bother. Please take care of your health. Yes, I will. See the carry bags? No, bhai. I don't drink, I don't smoke, so don't you worry. I'm absolutely fine, Kishore. Thank you very much. And been an absolute teetotaler all my life. Rohit Kohli, Dhoni, pitch at Southampton. I've answered that. Two spinners help possibly. Just got that answer. Umpires for WTC Final. We'll announce that. Thought about Conway. Conway we've answered. Conway really good. Yes, absolutely. Devon Conway has been phenomenal. Is there any intra-squad matches? 200% there will be intra-squad matches. After the first is the hard quarantine because the players will be tested. Then from what I know, I'll read it out again. But from what I know, it's managed isolation where they can train in batches and they can be within the same premise. So after 3 days, they can train in batches and they can obviously train intra-squad. And then after a total 8-day period, they will be able to do together within that same premise. And I'm sure there will be intra-squad matches. More Indians in county cricket? Yes, possible. But these days, it's very difficult for Indian players to go and play because most of them have IPL contracts and that's when the IPL is on till the end of May and thereafter the international season starts. So it's a good suggestion and a useful suggestion, but it is difficult. It is difficult in that sense. Pawan Chiru, present team worthy of taking over from Sunil Shetty. Pawan, let's do a show on football and I'll answer that. This is our WTC final show. Will there be intra-squad matches? I've taken that. Prashant Mishra, Devon Conway, I've taken that. Avinash will be, I've taken that. Plenty more questions. Aniket, looking at the Lord's speech, I've answered that. Oh, huge number again. Late today, I was not late. I started, Aditya, I started sharp 5 o'clock. Sharp 5 I started. Full interview of Brendon McCullum, you're putting it out right away. Rishabh's role in the final, massively important according to me. What is the next question I asked Brendon? About the pace battery. Yes, according to me, this Indian fast bowling unit is the best that we've had in a long, long time. You have seam, you have swing, you have movement, you have pace, and you now have, because of this workload management, you know that these guys can clock 140-45 for a period. Unlike, in the past, Irfan Pathan, Munaf Patel, we've seen people coming and going, not being able to retain pace. Is this our best? I think it is. With Bharat Arun, a very special unit. Trisha, can we have the clip on the Indian pace bowling, please?
I can only really talk about during the time that I've been around the international game, because obviously, when India had Javagal Srinath and Kapil Dev and the likes, there was obviously a very good bowling lineup. But I think in the last 20 years, this would have to be close to their best seam bowling lineup, and balanced out nicely with the spin options of obviously Ashwin and Jadeja as well. So I think it's probably the most rounded bowling lineup, and is probably the best bowling lineup that can travel to all conditions and to be able to and put the opposition under pressure. So yeah, I would have to agree with that.
Good answer. Good answer. I mean, again, several questions. Why don't you do a show with Vikrant? I keep saying this. Vikrant is family. You know, we will do many shows together. I mean, we are planning. Sports Tech is hiring. We are planning many shows for Sports Tech as well. I will be there in Tokyo, so I will be covering for the India Today group overall. Sports Today, Sports Tech, Aaj Tak, and India Today. Vikrant and I have covered multiple tours together, so we'll do plenty of work together and done. You want a show with Vikrant? Vikrant and I will definitely do. Vikrant, if you are listening to this show, you've got to come on my platform, this platform, which is again yours as well. You and I must do something together leading into the World Test Championship final. Let's get an expert as well. Let's get a rock star. Let's get one of our top guys. I will get someone, you, me, and we must do a build-up, a proper build-up for the WTC final as part of this. We'll do it together for sure. Okay, India unlucky on 18 June. Hey, come on. What is this unlucky thing that you're asking about? Have lost several matches. Forget about it. And the decision is not happening on 18 June, Vaishnavi Swaminathan. The decision is going to happen later on the 22nd of June or the 21st. So it's not happening on the 18th of June. So forget about it. How can Indian batting lineup counter the left-hand pacers? That's the call. It will be an important call. Left arm, ball coming in, movement. That is what you've got to negotiate. That's a big call. Ashwin test for Conway, Ashish O. Ashwin test for everybody. Ravichandran Ashwin, day 3, day 4 with the footmarks will test everybody. So there's no debate on that. Umesh chance in playing 11? Don't think so at this point. Do you think Jaidev Unadkat, Nandini Ghosh in the team to Sri Lanka? Very possible. Jaidev has performed in domestic cricket. We have got a good bench strength, Deepak Chahar and everybody else there. Jaidev, slower ball, back of the hand, why not? Mayank or Shubman Gill? I think Shubman Gill, because if you really see the Australia series, Shubman Gill was top-notch. Yes, wasn't at his best against England, but I would still say Shubman Gill just a bit ahead of Mayank Agarwal. Okay, let's take another one. I actually asked Brendon McCullum this question that many of you have asked me. That New Zealand is playing 2 test matches against England. Will this give them the advantage? Also the fact that the IPL got postponed, is it actually a boon for Indian cricket? Because of the postponement of the IPL, the team could leave early, bubble happened. Now they're already in Southampton, so they will be able to get into training mode very shortly, even because it's managed isolation. So will it actually help the Indians? Here's Brendon McCullum answering both these questions.
I think when you're as a cricketing team, once you're match hardened, you just find out a few different things. You smooth out some of those rough edges, and you get that general familiarity within your lineup that someone's going to get the job done and get through those tough times. Sometimes when you come off a break from playing Test cricket and you move into a high impact series, you're just not quite fully ready. I guess the benefit for India is that with the IPL being postponed, it's actually given them the opportunity to get to England earlier and to be able to get some cricket in those conditions. And they've got a strong squad, India, so there'll be competitive match situations and simulations going on leading into that World Test Championship. But you'd have to say New Zealand's schedule is probably slightly more advantageous heading into the final than what India's is. The conditions we expect will swing around, but let's not forget as well that Southampton can spin, that pitch can offer some assistance to the spinners as well. So I think it's actually a fascinating place to play the Test Championship, because I think there's going to be a little bit in it for all the bowlers and all the various skill sets that they have on offer. So I'm really excited about it.
Let me take a few more questions before I go into further clips, and there are plenty here. Lucky, should Sundar play in place of Jadeja? No. Ravindra Jadeja, definitely at this point in time, there's actually no comparison. Has to be Ravindra Jadeja. A lot of people saying Chris Gaffney should not be the umpire. Call it superstition. No risk should be taken, not India's call. But don't worry. I mean, these things, I know it's important in sport, oftentimes important in sport, but doesn't really, don't worry about it. India is unlucky on 18 June, Vaishnavi. The match is not going to be decided on that particular day. Indian batting lineup, that is the question, Kishore. Indian batting lineup, can they stand up? The hard work you're doing deserves more views. It's not about more views. What is this nonsense about more views? It is about classical music. Are you happy with the way you are working and are you happy with the way your shows are being received by people who are watching? And frankly, who are you doing it for? I'm doing it for people who are watching and for myself. That's where the matter ends. And listen, ultimately for me, sport is life. Olympic sport, cricket, football, any sport is life. Millions of people can watch, but millions of people do not make a difference to my life at all. Even if one person watches, and if I'm giving my 100%, end of matter. Avinash, I've answered that. Richard Kettleborough, bad umpire, very possible. We are eliminating every possible umpire in this way. I'm sure Pant will be the key. Surinder Singh, Birmingham, absolutely Surinder, he's a rock star, and Rishabh can well be the key. Austin, thoughts on Ollie Robinson tweets controversy? I need to first know more before I answer that, Austin. Boria, looking at the Lords, which I've answered that. Okay, Nandini Ghosh, I'm enjoying reading and knowing history of Indian cricket from your famous book, 11 Gods and a Billion Indians. Absolutely do enjoy. Product of enormous amount of hard work. I'm glad you're reading it and enjoying it. Yesterday, before press conference, went live. What is this question from Austin? We're discussing about an off-spinner against the New Zealand left-handers. Moeen Ali took. Yes, true, correct. And the off-spinner is Ravichandran Ashwin, according to me. When you have a Ravi Ashwin, you will want variation, and you will get Ravindra Jadeja as the variation. So you have both of them. When you have both of them, I don't think you need any. Kishore Chaudhary, ami our team Didi, I've given my team. Deepanita Chatterjee, interview with Virat. Let us win the WTC. I've said this to Rohit. I've said this to a number of them, Washi and a number of them. We will do interviews. We will definitely do interviews and exclusive interviews. Fingers crossed. Let's not jinx it. Let's win it. After Australia, you remember, we did 14 interviews, all exclusives. We will do interviews. Let's play the next one. You know, it is very important. I mean, are these two teams the best two teams? A lot of people have said the schedule, it wasn't ideal because of the pandemic. So I asked Brendon to analyze for me the journey of these two teams, India and New Zealand, and are they the two best teams deserving to make the final? Here's Brendon McCullum. Take a listen.
Two best performed teams, yeah. Some would say that New Zealand hasn't had to travel a great deal. But let's not forget that New Zealand went to the UAE and were successful when no one else can go to the UAE and be successful. They've been successful in other places on the road as well, and Sri Lanka, for instance. And, you know, I think at home they're an absolute formidable force. And I think now there's such a dominance from teams playing at home. And New Zealand has played India and England at home as well during that period. And Pakistan, who also have a very good bowling lineup in those conditions. And they've defeated them. So, look, I think New Zealand deserves the opportunity. I think India, everyone would agree, deserve the opportunity. They've been a standout test side for a number of years now. And, you know, I think they are the two best teams which deserve the right opportunity right at this point in time.
So there you have it. I will get the final part on predictions. But before that, so many questions on Shubman Gill. I will do a special on Shubman Gill. So many people asking about Shubman Gill. Trisha, let's do a special on Shubman Gill, please. Surinder Singh, Boria, mark my words, Pant played role in 6 Test England. Yes. Surinder, yes, I remember we did take a photograph with each other. And weren't you the ones who got those brilliant samosas? I think you were the one who fed me the brilliant samosas from home. Austin, we've taken that. Richard Kettleborough, again, that same one. Interview with Virat, I've answered that. Expectations from Gill. Let's do a special on Shubman Gill tomorrow. We will. Boryada, have you ever stayed at Southampton? Yes, I have. At the Hilton and also at the Harbour Hotel. So I've stayed in Southampton in practically, there's a beautiful dosa joint in the middle of the city. Unfortunately, the Indians can't go there. But yes, I have stayed in the Southampton hotel multiple times. If I'm not wrong, few Indian cricketers have taken the first dose, right? A lot of the cricketers are now vaccinated. And the deal to get vaccinated with Covishield was that is the one that you're allowed to travel in terms of, though the vaccination wasn't made mandatory, but because it's the AstraZeneca vaccine, all of the cricketers, they will now be in England for 3 months. They can get the second dose in the United Kingdom, and I know that's going to happen for men and women. So both the men's team and the women's team will get their second doses of the vaccine in England. So let's get Brendon McCullum's prediction once more, Trisha, before I take final round of questions. And tomorrow, as I said, we will do a special on Shubman Gill.
Say this. So who's the favorite, New Zealand or India? Take a call.
I thought I was going to get away with that. I think 60-40 New Zealand. I think it's going to be close, but I think the match practice that New Zealand's going to have against England leading into the final could just tip it their way. But I think it's going to be very close. And just as New Zealand would respect India, as now as a fan, I'll also respect India, the fact that I know how good of players they are and how much they are, how competitive they are, and the fighting spirit that they have. So I think we're in for a ripping World Test Championship final, and may the best team win, and may the best game that we have prosper.
Yeah, I actually can't wait. I mean, yesterday I was on Hotstar soon after the press conference was over doing a show, and I said, can't wait to sort of interview the cricketers if they win. Possibility also of a shared win because of the rules. But what a test match it will be. And I do think the Indians will be ready. I don't think this 2 test match thing will give New Zealand any hell of an advantage. Southampton might actually benefit the Indians. The ball might do a little bit in terms of spin as the game goes on. I would play the 2 spinners. Siraj, maybe the choice is between Ishant and Siraj. Because from what I know, that's the choice. Bumrah, Shami, Ashwin, Jadeja, and the final call is between Ishant and Siraj. Siraj might just get the nod because he's been bowling phenomenally well. And we've seen how good he is. Ishant also. So it's a very tricky call, but that's what it is. I mean, this Indian team now is such a champion unit with so much talent in that lineup that it is difficult. But Jadeja ahead of Washington is certainly something that I believe in at this point. And I also think Shubman Gill ahead of Mayank, just that little bit. Plenty more final round of questions. You travel to England for cover the series? Yes, I will come. I will come. I will come for the latter part. I'm going to Tokyo for the Olympics, Surinder. Once I come back to India, hopefully by then travel regulations would have eased, and I will definitely come. We'll sort of, hey, Abonindro, you are criticizing me. You know what you are? Banglai bole na, tumi ekti bhar. You are the court jester of sports today, ala Gopal Bhar. So that's fine. You want to criticize me, make a fool of yourself, you are welcome. Don't criticize my viewers. Because if you do that, we will block you and ban you. Don't do that. Austin and others who are watching the show, don't get after them. You get after me, feel free. Because I love it. Because as I said, so it's fine what you're trying to do, but do not try to be stupid and hostile towards my other viewers. I will not allow you to do that. Will players undergo hard quarantine? Let me read it out. Because of the frame, but as I said, Johns, if you are watching, I have sent you the detail on quarantine this morning, which the ICC sent me. Can you put it out on Twitter for all our viewers? Exactly what I sent you from the ICC. Ashwin, New Zealand left-hand batsman. Yes, Dhruv Jha. I absolutely think Indians have a major trump card in Ravichandran Ashwin. So Tejas Ruikar, conduct IPL in UAE, 3 venues. Why can't we conduct IPL in Mumbai? Okay, I'll close out on that. Tejas, that is the consideration. The BCCI is absolutely contemplating that, and that is very much in the scheme. But there is a political issue. Will Pakistan be allowed to play in Mumbai? There is a political consideration. Think of the ruling dispensation. What about politics? If somebody emulates himself or herself, think the political repercussions. Does the BCCI want to take a chance? If you have to do it, you have to take the political dispensation into confidence. And if they allow, if things go well, then Mumbai definitely is a possibility. If you can create a bio bubble, you can create a similar Dubai-like situation, but you take the political angle, and can Pakistan play in Mumbai into angle before you finalize the venue. Okay, so that's where we are. I'll finish off because Trisha has told me, Boria, not to go beyond 30 minutes. Support sports today. This is your platform. We will do Olympic sports. We will do New Zealand going to lunch at 314 for 7. Devon Conway 179. Kylie Jamieson with him for company. That's where we will finish. Tomorrow is a special on Shubman Gill. I'll get Sunil Gavaskar to talk on Shubman Gill. I will get Brendon McCullum once again. I'll request him to talk about Shubman Gill. So special on Shubman Gill from Brendon McCullum and Sunil Gavaskar. What does Shubman Gill need to do? We will deep dive into Shubman Gill. For the moment, I appreciated you joining me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your support, for supporting Sports Today. Same time tomorrow, 5 p.m. on Sports Today for our deep dive on Shubman Gill. Thank you very much for watching.